I was just a regular college student studying for my degree and enjoying my social life with my group of friends. But one day, everything changed. I met a guy named Derek. We met at a friend's party, and we hit it off right away. He was charming, funny, and seemed genuinely interested in getting to know me. We exchanged numbers, and he started texting me frequently. At first, everything was great. We went on a few dates, and I was excited about the possibility of a new relationship. Little did I know that he was about to ruin my life. First, I started noticing some red flags. Derek would get angry if I didn't respond to his texts right away or if I wanted to spend time with my friends instead of him. He would make snide comments about my appearance and belittle me in public. It turns out, Derek was a manipulative person who loved playing mind games. He pretended to be interested in me and even convinced me to start dating him. I was naive and didn't see through his facade until it was too late. He started controlling my every move and would get angry if I didn't do what he wanted. I felt like I was trapped and I didn't know how to get out of the situation. One day, Derek went too far. When we were out at a bar with some friends, Derek had too much to drink and started acting aggressively. He accused me of flirting with another guy and grabbed my arm tightly. I tried to pull away, but he wouldn't let go. That's when he hit me. He got drunk and hit me in public. I was humiliated, and I knew I couldn't let him get away with it. I went to the police and filed a report, but Derek, that jerk, was a smooth talker, and he managed to convince the cops that it was just a small argument. They let him go with a warning, and I felt defeated, but I wasn't going to give up that easily. I decided to take matters into my own hands and plan my revenge. I knew I needed evidence to prove to the authorities that Derek was a dangerous person, and I also wanted to make sure that he never bothered me again. I started by gathering information about Derek's past. I talked to his ex-girlfriends and found out that he had a history of abusive behavior. I also found out that he was involved in some shady business deals and had a criminal record. Once I had enough evidence, I started to put my plan into action. I set up a fake social media account and pretended to be a wealthy businesswoman who was interested in investing in one of Derek's deals. He took the bait, and we started talking about the detail. I arranged a meeting with him in a secluded location and made sure to bring a hidden camera with me. The businesswoman that was supposed to meet Derek was my cousin Emma. She's a beginner actress but has so much talent. I walked her through all the details and she was smart enough to do all the rest. During the meeting, Derek revealed some incriminating information, and I managed to capture everything on camera. I confronted him about his behavior and threatened to expose him if he ever came near me again. Derek lost his temper and tried to attack me, but I was ready for him. I let him attack me, and all this was caught on camera. Emma called the police immediately. The police arrived soon after and arrested Derek for assault and battery. They also found evidence of his involvement in illegal activities, and he was charged with multiple crimes. Derek paid for his actions, and I got my revenge for hitting and humiliating me in public. Enjoy being a sweet talker in prison, jerk. It all began when I stumbled upon a vendor selling handmade pottery. As an avid collector, I couldn't resist taking a closer look at their beautiful creations. That's when I noticed her, the infamous Karen. I had heard about Karens before, but I had never encountered one in real life until that moment. She was screaming at the vendor, demanding a discount on a beautiful vase. The vendor was calmly explaining that the price was non-negotiable, but Karen was having none of it. I could see the frustration building on the vendor's face, so I decided to step in. "Excuse me, ma'am, but the vendor's prices are already very reasonable. I think you should pay the full price." Karen's gaze shifted to me, and I could see the anger bubbling up inside her. "Who are you to tell me what to do? Mind your own business." I tried to defuse the situation. I'm just a fellow shopper, and I don't want to see anyone being mistreated. Karen wasn't having it. She got closer to me, and I could feel her hot breath on my face. "You're just trying to be a hero, aren't you? Well, guess what? You're not going to get anywhere with me. I want a discount, and I'm not leaving until I get one." At this point, a crowd had gathered around us, and I could feel their eyes on me. I knew I had to stand my ground. Ma'am, I think it's time for you to leave. You're causing a scene, and it's not fair to the other vendors and shoppers. Karen's face was full of evil looks, and before I knew it, she had lunged at me. I managed to dodge her attack, but she wasn't done yet. She kept swinging at me, screaming obscenities and insults. I tried to reason with her and make her calm down, but she wasn't listening. I'm going to make sure you never come back to this fair again. You're nothing but a troublemaker, she yelled and still wanted to grab my hair. I knew I had to defend myself, but I didn't want to escalate the situation. Suddenly, a security guard appeared and tried to intervene, but Karen was too strong. She pushed him aside and kept attacking me. I was getting tired, and I could see the fear in the vendor's eyes as he tried to protect his products from her brutal attacks and rage. Just when I thought all hope was lost, a police officer appeared on the scene. He managed to subdue Karen, and she was eventually arrested for assault and disorderly conduct. The police officer took statements from myself and the vendor, as well as the other witnesses who had gathered around. They also reviewed footage from the fair's security cameras to get a clearer picture of what had happened. Afterwards, the vendor thanked me for standing up for them in their pricing. They even offered me a discount on one of their pieces, but I politely declined. I didn't want any special treatment. I was just glad that the situation had been resolved without anyone getting seriously hurt. The rest of the fair went by without incident, and I continued to browse the various vendors' booths. Edit. To you all who were asking, yes, I did press charges against her. It was supposed to be a fun day, my friend's birthday party. We were all excited to celebrate, have some cake, and enjoy each other's company, but my entitled parents had to ruin it all. Let me give you some backstory on my parents. They have always been overbearing and controlling. They believe that they are entitled to everything and anything they want. Growing up, they never let me do anything without their permission, and even then they would always find a way to make me feel guilty about it. So, on this particular day, my parents insisted on coming to the party with me. They had never met my friend or her parents, but they didn't care. They just wanted to be there to show off their perfect child. As soon as we arrived, my parents started to make a scene. They were complaining about the decorations, the food, and even the other guests. I tried to ignore them and enjoy the party, but it was impossible. My friend's parents were looking at me with a mix of pity and annoyance. My parents kept making sarcastic comments about everything, and it was embarrassing. They were acting like they were superior to everyone else there, and it was clear that they weren't having a good time. As we were singing happy birthday to my friend, my mom interrupted and asked for the mic. Excuse me, everyone. I just wanted to say a few words about my daughter. Oh, no, I thought to myself. Here we go. My daughter is the smartest, prettiest, and most talented person I know. She has accomplished so much in her life, and I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge that. My face turned bright red, and I wished the ground would swallow me whole. My friend's parents looked at me with a mix of shock and disgust. I could tell they were wondering who raised this entitled brat. As if that wasn't bad enough, my dad chimed in. Yes, and we just want to make sure that everyone knows that our daughter is very successful. She's going to be a doctor, you know. She's going to save lives and make a difference in the world. I wanted to crawl under the table and disappear. My parents were making a fool out of themselves, and I was getting the brunt of it. After the embarrassing display, my friend's parents came up to me and apologized for my parents' behavior. We had no idea they were like that, they said. We hope you had a good time, despite everything. I nodded, trying to hold back tears. I couldn't wait to get out of there. As we were leaving, my parents continued to make comments about the party. Well, that was a waste of time, my mom said. Those people were so boring. I couldn't take it anymore. Can you please just stop? You embarrassed me in front of my friends, and I'm tired of it. Can't you just act normal for once? My mom looked at me in shock. What are you talking about? We were just trying to show our love and support for you. That's not love. That's just being entitled and making everything about you, I replied. You always have to make everything a big show, and it's exhausting. I just wanted to have a fun day with my friends, but you had to come and ruin it. My dad tried to interrupt, but I didn't let him. No, I don't want to hear it. You need to realize that you can't always have everything your way. You need to start respecting other people's boundaries and stop making everything about yourself. We got into the car and there was an awkward silence. I knew that my words had hit a nerve, but I didn't care. I was tired of being a puppet in their show. The rest of the ride home was quiet, and when we got home, my parents went straight to their room without saying a word. I went to my room and sat down, feeling drained and frustrated. I knew that this wasn't the end of it, but I was determined to stand my ground. I was browsing the shelves of my local bookstore, looking for a good read to bring home with me when I heard a commotion behind me. I turned to see a woman with an entitled look on her face, dragging a small child along behind her. I rolled my eyes and turned back to the books, hoping to avoid any drama. But of course it was not to be. The entitled mother marched right up to me and stuck her finger in my face. "Excuse me," she said, "but my son wants that book you're holding. Give it to him." I looked down at the book in my hand, a copy of my favorite novel that I had been planning to reread. "I'm sorry," I said, trying to be polite, but I was planning to buy this book. "Maybe you can find another copy?" The entitled mother scowled at me. "That's not good enough. My son wants that book right now. Give it to him or I'll have to escalate this." I raised an eyebrow. "Escalate what, exactly? This is just a bookstore." The entitled mother huffed and crossed her arms over her chest. "You don't understand. My son is very particular. He wants that book and he wants it now. So give it to him. You are too old to read this book anyway." I sighed and held the book out to her. "Fine, take it. It's not worth causing a scene over." The entitled mother snatched the book from my hand and handed it to her son, who grinned up at her. I shook my head and turned back to the shelves, feeling annoyed but not wanting to cause a fuss. But as I was browsing, I heard the entitled mother and her son arguing. "I don't want this book. Mommy, I wanted the other one. This is the only one they had. Be grateful." I rolled my eyes and tried to tune them out, but then I heard the entitled mother say something that made my blood boil. "You spoiled brat. Didn't you see what I just had done for you? We'll just have to find someone else to give us the book we want, someone who knows how to get what they want." I turned to her, my eyes flashing. "Excuse me, but that's not how things work. You can't just bully people into giving you what you want." The entitled mother sneered at me. "Who do you think you are? You're just a nobody. Get out of my way." I felt a surge of anger at her words. "I'm somebody, and somebody who can be dangerous, and I won't let you treat me or anyone else like this. So why don't you and your brat give me the book that you took from me and just leave?" The entitled mother was livid at this point. "How dare you speak to me like this, you witch? I'm gonna teach you some manners," she yelled, lunging at me with her fists raised. I dodged her clumsy attack and stepped back, watching as she stumbled and fell to the ground. Her son started crying, and she turned on him, blaming him for everything. "It's your fault!" she screamed. "If you had just taken the book I wanted, none of this would have happened." I shook my head and made my way to the front of the store, feeling frustrated and angry. As I reached the front, I saw the store manager, who had obviously heard the commotion. She approached me with a concerned look on her face. "Is everything okay?" she asked. I shook my head. "No, not really. That woman over there," I said, pointing towards the entitled mother who was now shouting at her child. "She took a book from me and then tried to attack me when I confronted her about it." The store manager frowned and walked over to the entitled mother. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. You can't behave like this in our store." The entitled mother glared at her. "This is ridiculous. I did nothing wrong. It's not my fault they didn't have the book I wanted." The store manager shook her head. "I'm sorry, but you're not welcome here anymore. Please leave before I have to call the police." The entitled mother looked like she wanted to argue, but she must have seen the determination in the store manager's eyes, because she eventually grabbed her child and stormed out of the store, still muttering to herself. As the entitled mother stormed out of the bookstore, the store manager followed her to make sure she left the premises. The entitled mother continued to shout and complain, but the store manager stood her ground and made it clear that her behavior was unacceptable. Other customers in the store watched as the scene unfolded, and many of them were grateful that the entitled mother had been banned. Some of them even approached me to make sure I was okay and to express their support. I let out a sigh of relief as the store manager turned to me. "I'm so sorry about that. Is there anything I can do to make it up to you?" I shook my head. "No, it's okay. I'm just glad she's gone. Thanks for handling it." The store manager nodded and gave me a sympathetic smile. "Why don't you take another book as a thank you, on the house?" I hesitated, feeling a bit guilty about accepting a free book, but then I decided to take her up on the offer. After all, it wasn't my fault the entitled mother had caused a scene. Outside, I took a deep breath and tried to calm down. It was never pleasant to be confronted by someone as entitled and rude as that woman, but I was relieved that the situation had been resolved without any serious harm. As I walked away from the bookstore, I felt a renewed sense of appreciation for the people who work in customer services. Dealing with difficult customers can be exhausting and thankless, but the store manager handled the situation with professionalism and grace. I made a mental note to be extra polite to service workers in the future, and to always speak up when I see entitled behavior like that on display.